So I said this is not a how-to video, but it turns out this is actually a how-to video. Hey y'all, welcome to Flip Flop Barnyard. I'm Jenna. If you're new here, welcome. And if you have been here before, thanks for coming back. I am having a very, very dairy day in my kitchen. I have a lot of things processing. I realized this morning when it was time to milk that we didn't have plain jars for the milk, and we also didn't have any refrigerator space left. I was like, how many gallons of milk do I have that need to be processed this morning? And it was like well over 12. And I was like, oh, well, here we are. So I guess I'm going to be processing milk this morning. So instead of me milking, the kids and then went out and milked, and I took care of the inside stuff, getting milk skimmed so that I could use the cream or other things and get the milk prepared for cooking and using for other things. And yeah, I had to wash a bunch of jars. So actually, I think Emma helped me wash jars. But anyway, all that to say, I have 8.5 gallons of milk in here for mozzarella. It's not cultured traditional mozzarella. It's a quick mozzarella. So I put it in here, and it's I put citric acid in it. I get a non-GMO, naturally derived citric acid. It's not grown on black mold, because apparently a lot of citric acid out there that you buy is actually just grown on black mold, and it's genetically modified and doesn't sound very appetizing, things that I want to eat or feed my children. So I am working on this, and it is actually at 90 degrees. So I need to add my rennet to this. I am going to put a teaspoon of rennet in about 1/4 cup of water here. This is not really a how-to video because I am no cheese expert. I'm just doing this, and I thought you guys might be interested in seeing what I'm doing in my kitchen when I have all this milk to process. So I'm going to put it in that, and then I'm going to do that. And then you want to mix this up really good, doing up and down motions, and stir it around because you want that rennet. The rennet is what coagulates your milk. It makes it set into a curd, separates the curd from the whey. It's very important. So you want it mixed in thoroughly so that it will fully coagulate and separate all of your milk. And I'm using that much rennet for this massive pot of milk. You don't need that much if you're only using a gallon or 2. The cool thing about this mozzarella, though, is it can be done with raw milk or it can be done with store-bought milk. So you can also make it with goat milk, which Kylie, our one daughter, can only do goat's milk. So she's making it with her goat's milk all the time. But all right, I would say that's fully incorporated. And over here, I have 3 gallons of milk in this pot, and I am working on heating it up to 180 degrees for yogurt. So I'm going to heat it all the way up to 180. Then I'll let it cool back down to like around 115 degrees, and I'll add culture to it later. We'll put it in jars and add culture, and it will incubate overnight, and tomorrow morning will be yogurt. So just heating this up slowly and keeping it stirred so I don't scorch it. I put a lid on that pot. It has to sit for 10 minutes. And while that's sitting, I'm going to show you the other things that I'm making. So I have, from this morning, I got 1.5 gallons of cream this morning, which is awesome. So I've made a 1/2 gallon here of sour cream. So I've set it here. I put culture in it, stirred it up, and it will sit overnight. And in the morning, it will be delicious, yummy sour cream. Over 2 pounds butter. And this is the buttermilk, the milk left over after your butter comes together. That little bit of thin milk left is buttermilk. And I put it in this jar, and I've got a coffee filter so it can kind of breathe a little bit, and I don't add a culture to it. It just cultures by itself. And so tomorrow it will be clabbered up, and that will be buttermilk, and we'll use that in pancakes and biscuits and whatever we use in these buttermilk. So it's pretty awesome and delicious. I just want to show you guys some of the fun things I'm making. So I have been making hard cheeses. I have learned a lot from Kate at Venison for Dinner and Robin at Cheese from Scratch. And then I just recently discovered Milk Slinger on YouTube. So great resources for making cheese and all kinds of dairy stuff. I'm not an expert. I have had milk cows for a long time, 11 years, and we had raw milk before that for several years. But it's only been recently that I've ventured beyond like mozzarella and yogurt and things like that. But I did make some actual real cheeses. I made Asiago and butter case, butter Kaiser, butter cheese, whatever you want to call it. And they actually taste like cheese. I was like, after they're aging in the fridge for a month or so, and you're like, I want to taste this. It's very nerve-wracking because you're like, are they going to be disgusting and horrible, or are they going to be amazing? And they actually taste like cheese. So we make a lot of butter, nice, beautiful yellow spring butter. Love it. And then a lot of mozzarella, which is what we're making today. And we just vacuum seal everything and freeze it. And then these we vacuum seal. The cheese, they've been vacuum sealed and aging in the refrigerator. That's my version of a cheese cave for now. And then I've been working on learning about clabber. This is my most recent clabber. I need to feed milk and make more, but you can see how thick that is. It is just what happens to milk when you let it sit out and naturally age. I'll keep a coffee filter and let it sit on the counter like I am the buttermilk. And then this clabber can be used to culture things rather than using freeze-dried cultures. So far, I use freeze-dried cultures for everything, but I'm going to start experimenting. So I'm going to make some quark, which I don't have any on hand right now to show you. And it's a soft cheese like a cream cheese, and it's delicious. And I am going to attempt to make quark, I think, tonight with this clabber. So we'll see. Hopefully it goes well. But I did want to show you, well, then we just have coffee creamer for the people in my house that drink coffee because, you know, that's super important. But I want to show you the difference between my sour cream. So this is cream from our cow Elsie, and this is cream from either just Heidi or both of them mixed together. And when I've been making sour cream, my consistency has been pretty thin. Which homemade sour cream is going to be thinner because store-bought sour cream typically has thickeners added to it, so that's why it's so thick. But let me show you. This is from Elsie, and Elsie's cream when I'm skimming is really thick. I mean, it just like spoons out. Where Heidi's is thinner, I don't know why. Just different cow, different milk makeup. Different cows are better for cheese making, their milk components, and I don't know. It's a whole thing. There's a whole science to it. But look at how thick. This is like basically almost the consistency of store-bought sour cream. It is like so thick and luscious and delicious. So if you like sour cream and you have milk, it's so easy to make. You definitely need to try it. I'm giving that to a kid to lick. And that inspired me. So we are totally having fajitas for dinner tonight because we have an abundance of sour cream. So that's what we're doing. Since I'm using raw milk to make everything, you might be wondering why I am heating up my yogurt to 180 degrees, which technically almost pasteurizes it. It basically kills off almost all of the beneficial bacteria in the milk. And you might be like, why would you do that? And I have made raw milk yogurt before, and it's fine. It's just super, super thin and watery. And technically raw milk yogurt is actually not really yogurt. It's clabber. It's just clabbered milk, cultured and then clabbered. So the reason I do it is because when you heat it up and you only put in one culture, then you don't have any kind of bacteria battling each other because bacteria wants to proliferate and take over. So when you add in the kind of culture you want to take over, which is the idea with different cheeses and using different cultures, it's going to give you the flavor you're looking for. So our raw milk yogurt tastes good, but there is the chance that it could end up with a little bit of an off-putting flavor because of whatever natural bacteria are in it might begin to battle with the yogurt culture add to it. But the other main reason is because it doesn't get as thick. And most people want their yogurt to be thick. If you want runny yogurt, you want thick yogurt. And you can make it even thicker by straining it into like a Greek yogurt. But my kids like it thicker, so we do that. And because we're adding culture, it is still a cultured, fermented, really good for your gut food. So I still feel good about it. Plus it's milk from our cows, so I know where it comes from. So it's basically still a superfood. It's just what we do most of the time. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do. And this is ready for the next steps. So we're going to check for a clean break in our curd. So when you add your rennet and you let it sit, it's going to make your curd come together. Your curd come your way separate. So the way I check is you want to get a clean break, and I just put my finger in. You can use a knife, but I just use my finger, and I'm going to put it in and lift, and you can see how it just broke. It's not like ragged. It has a clean line in it. It kind of comes back together, and that shows me that it's ready. If you don't have a clean break and your curd is too soft and it's kind of raggedy, you just let it sit a little bit longer and it'll be ready. But the next step is what I think is the most fun and the best step of making cheese, and it is cutting your curd, or in this case, you can cut your curd. Probably most people actually use a knife to cut their curd for mozzarella, but I break rules. So I just use my hand and go in and just start breaking up the curds into pieces. I think most people would probably want to cut this into around 1-inch chunks, but I'm just going to break it, and I'm going to reach down in the pot, and it's a little warm, so, be careful. You might want to wear gloves. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not advising that you do this, but it's just really satisfying to stir curds and break them up. You can see once you start breaking up your curd that the whey and the curd starts to go down to the bottom, and the whey comes to the top. I want to show you. These are too big, so I'm breaking up these. If you have clumps, you just want to break it up like that. And it's kind of like an egg white consistency. The smaller you break your curd, the drier your cheese will be. So that's really a personal preference. If you want your cheese to be like more moist, you want some bigger curds. If you want it drier, for us personally, we find that if it's a little bit drier, like this is already skim milk, so it's going to be dry. It doesn't have cream in it. which we like for pizza, because I found that the mozzarella that's like a full fat mozzarella for with cow's milk at least kind of gets watery on pizza, but if it's drier, it grates really well and it doesn't release whey into your pizza, which kind of gross. So I'm going to heat this up to 104 degrees while I'm stirring the curd and checking. I'm kind of scraping the bottom because they'll cook a little more on the bottom, and which is okay, but you don't want them to stick and scorch. See how these are more cooked looking and they stick together more than the others. So just going to keep this, and I'm already at 95, almost 96 degrees. So I'm just going to keep stirring this until it comes up to 104. And as I find big clumps of curd, I'm going to break those up. So we're just stirring and stirring. I just want to kind of show you how the curds progress as they go. You can see they get drier looking and they start to stick together more. So that's what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to continue to stir. Once it gets to 104 degrees, I'm going to turn the eye off and I'm going to continue to stir and cook them for about 4 minutes. But don't get stuck exactly on temperatures and times. It needs to be pretty close, but you want to pay attention to what your curds are behaving like, because you can overcook your curds or you can undercook your curds, and you just want to make sure you're getting your curds correct, because that's going to make sure that you're going to have a good product at the end. The other thing I want to talk about was whey. So you can see all this whey. I'm going to have gallons upon gallons of whey when I'm done. And a lot of times we will soak animal feed with whey. It's really great for the animals. This is citric acid whey, so it's not the same as a cultured whey, which you can use cultured whey for other things like for fertilizer for plants. So I will use the cultured whey on my house plant or even in the garden. I'll dilute it 50% water, 50% whey, and then I will water things with it. But the nice thing about the citric acid whey is blueberries love acidic soil. So if you have an acid loving plant, you can use citric acid whey diluted 50% with water, 50% whey. And you can water that. So I have 5 blueberry plants out there that look like they probably need a little love. And I'm not going to use all of this, but I will use a good bit of this diluted, and I'm going to water my blueberry plants with my whey today. We have reached 104 degrees. So we are here. You can see how these are really coming together. There's still a few that are more like jelly-like, but the rest are starting to get tougher and stick together better. So we're going to stir this for approximately 4 minutes. Yeah. So I said this is not a how-to video, but it turns out this is actually a how-to video. I can't really put the homeschool mom teacher in me to sleep when I'm in the middle of making something. I just keep telling you how to make it because it's just who I am. So turns out when this video is done, if you watch it, you're going to know how to make mozzarella. These curds are ready to come out and be soaked in salt brine. I find that if we brine them in salt, salt is the key to mozzarella. If it's not cultured mozzarella and you don't salt it well, it's just going to have no flavor. So the key is plenty of salt. So we do a salt brine, but I would just kind of want to show you because mozzarella actually can be a little tricky. And you see how stringy it's getting? You have to have your curds at the right pH for them to stretch. They will not stretch if you don't get them to that pH or if you go beyond that pH. So they kind of have a critical time frame that you have to get them in order for them to stretch properly. I'm just going to scoop them out and put them in this strainer, and then we'll be ready to brine them, and then we're going to heat some whey super hot so that we can stretch it. We stretch ours with hot whey. Some people microwave them and stretch them. We don't even own a microwave, so we don't do that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get these scooped out over into the strainer, and then we'll go from there. Okay, my lovely assistant is Emma, and she's helping me out here. She's scooping out some whey from that pot. We have most of the curd in here, and when we saltwater brine this, it is not for a specific amount of time. It's just while we heat the whey in this pot, which is what we're going to stretch it in. This is actually a 2-gallon pot. It would be considered a fairly large pot for most people, but for us, it's our smallest pot, our smallest large pot. So she's going to scoop out a bunch of whey, and then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to strain the rest of that whey because there's still curds in there. We're going to strain it into a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, so that we can use it for feeding pigs and for watering things. But anyway, that's what we're doing here. So we're going to get this pot strained out and get a rest of our curds in here, and then we're going to put this on the burner, and we're going to heat this whey up to somewhere between 170 to 190 degrees. Again, you probably want to wear gloves to stretch your cheese. Don't act like us because we're going to burn our hands and it'll be fine. I believe my lovely assistant has somewhat taken over my kitchen. No, it's fine, really. But okay, so we've just taken whey and covered the cheese curd. We put the cheese curd in a bowl, and then we just It's not a measured amount and just covers it, but it is 1/4 cup of salt per gallon of milk that you started with. So we had over 8. We're doing 2 cups of salt. We go a little heavier if we wanted because we really added an extra half gallon, but it's not a big deal. It's not like an exact thing. It's just close enough. And then she's going to put that in there. And then this whey is on the eye. I've got it on high because it can heat pretty fast. It's not, don't want to scorch, but it probably won't scorch. But it's going to be, I'm just going to use a little bit to dissolve more of that salt. This is going to go between 170 and 190 so we can stretch our curd. We got our whey heated up and it's ready to go for stretching this. We have put a cutting board here with slots in it so that the whey can drain, and we've put our curd into a colander to drain, and we dumped out the whey that it was brining in. There's a lot of salt left in this pot, in this bowl, and we leave that there because we're actually going to use that as we stretch, because we will stretch the cheese in the whey that has all the salt in it, because we want that salt in our cheese because that's where the flavor is and it's good stuff. And we are using just sea salt because it takes so much salt to make cheese. I like to use like Redmond's real salt in my cooking, but because we use so much, it's a little less expensive, but we do a high quality sea salt for our cheese. So next we are ready to stretch these curds. To prepare your curds to be stretched, you are going to cut them. It's not an exact science, but just roughly that size. I don't think we saw that, Shimmy. That size. This is, yeah. So they're just going to be cut into chunks like that. But you can see the curd has come together. The curds have knitted really well, and that's what they call it when they come together, knitted. And yeah, we'll get these over here, and we're putting them back in the bowl. It has extra salt in it, and then we'll go over to the stove top and stretch them with the hot whey. I interrupt this cheese making program to talk to you about yogurt again. So the yogurt came up to temperature. And I didn't want to put a little in the pot because I don't want to hold the heat in. I want it to cool, but I also don't want any debris or if there's any flies in here, anything to get into my yogurt milk. So I just put a hand towel over it. And this is just going to sit here all day until this evening. We like our yogurt to incubate for about 14 hours. That's the sweet spot for us, the flavor we like, the tartness we like. We use a mild culture. And so this is going to hang out here all day till this evening, and when it rolls around about 6 o'clock or so this evening, if it is too cool, we will go ahead and just turn it on the stove, just heat it up a little bit to get it to the point to be able to put our culture in it. So this milk is literally just going to hang out here all day, and we'll come back this evening and show you how we add our culture and get it ready and put it in jars so that we can incubate it, and then we will show you the end product tomorrow. All right, that whey is good and hot, and we're just scooping it with if you watch my pantry organization video I did recently, you will see that I had talked about these ladles, and that ladle is awesome. I have 2 of them. That's a shorter handle one, and it's great for doing things like this. So just scoop that over, and it'll sit on here, and it will give these curds a minute to get hot, and then we will start stretching them. Emma is helping me out here. She's really good at stretching cheese, so she's doing that part. And you can see she's just using the tongs to just kind of feel how they're getting. And she's also sampling them as she goes.
They're really good.
She says they're really good, just to make sure that, that salt level is right, and mostly because they're just really good. And I'll probably be sampling some here too. So as you're going, sample your cheese curd because it's really good. But you can see how they're starting to get to the point where they're going to stretch. They're tearing still a little bit. You want them to really get stretchy, but they're very tasty. Another thing you can do with whey is you can make ricotta. You just reheat your whey to make ricotta. We found that if you add whole milk back into it, a couple of cups, it makes more ricotta. Ricotta literally means like twice cooked or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And we occasionally make ricotta, but we don't have a lot of dishes to put ricotta in, and it's not like people just want to eat ricotta. I don't think ricotta goes well with fajitas. And that's what we're having for dinner tonight. But it is another idea. You can use this whey for making ricotta. These are starting to really meld together, where they're really sticking together, but it's cooled down a little bit. So we're going to strain them and then add fresh hot whey back to the curds. We're just dumping the cool down whey back in the pot. We need to turn the eye back on so that can just keep heating. That way, if we need more whey, we can use it. But you can see now just adding that, how much stretchier the cheese is getting by adding that hot whey. And this is the process. We'll just keep working and doing this until it all comes together, and then it really starts stretching. The curd is getting really, really stretchy now, so we're putting it in this other bowl. As it stretches, it will continue to get smoother. You can still see there's still like chunks of curd in the cheese, but you can see how stringy and stretchy this is, and it's just going to continue to stretch and stretch and stretch until it gets might have to get the step stool for Emma to stand on. Cheese is a lot smoother, and now Emma's kneading it. This is not the full amount of the cheese. This is just part of it, but you almost want to roll, like if you're rolling up a roll, like if you ever make rolls with dough. And so it comes together, and then she's going to do the other part. We'll just let that sit for a minute, and she's going to do the rest of it. You just keep working it, and it gets smoother. Now, if you overwork it too much, it will get a little bit tough, but it's fine. If it's really stringy and you're gonna, yeah, and then we're gonna freeze it. Some people shred it and then freeze it, but we always just freeze it, vacuum seal it, and then we shred it. We thaw it and shred it, and it does just fine for us. We don't have any issues with it grating well. Okay, we got 5 pounds, 6.7 ounces, so nearly 5.5 pounds of cheese, which is awesome and exciting. It's usually smoother than this. It's just harder to work because it's just so much. Oh, there's baby goat bottles. We got baby goats outside we're feeding. It's just hard when you have this amount. We don't usually do that much. We usually do, like 4 or 5 gallons at a time, but we just had a lot of milk today that we needed to go through. So we will weigh that out into 1 pound blobs, pounds, whatever you want to call it. We'll put them into bowls and stick them in the freezer for a little bit, and we'll let them get like solidified in the freezer in the bowl, so they're a nice round shape and look good, and just easy to manage that way. And then we will put them in vacuum seal bags individually. We'll vacuum seal them, label them. Always label whatever you're doing. Like you will be like, what is this? So yeah, label it. We will label them, and then date them, and we'll put them in the freezer, and then we will thaw them for pizza. Most likely, that's what we usually do with our mozzarella. So that's pretty much how we do mozzarella, and I will come back this evening and we will walk you through the rest of the yogurt. Perfect timing. It's kind of a little chaotic in here because we're cooking dinner, but this is ready to be cultured and the time is right. So it needs to be between 112 and 115 degrees. Hotter than that and it will kill your culture. Cooler than that and it's not the right temperature for your culture to thrive and do well. So for this much milk, I have 3 gallons. I'm going to go ahead and do about a 1/4 teaspoon of a freeze-dried culture. So I'm going to go ahead and I like to just sprinkle it over the top like that, or just dump it in one spot, whatever works. I kind of let it rehydrate for a minute, and then I'll stir this in. The cool thing that we do with this is after this is done, we're going to make our yogurt, and tomorrow I'm going to leave part of this plain. So when I put it, I'm going to sweeten this in this pot, but I'm going to first get a 1/2 gallon out, and it's going to be the plain unsweetened yogurt. And then tomorrow after it sets, I'm going to take my butter molds, and I'll show you how I do it. And I'm going to put a 1/2 cup in each part of my butter mold until I use up the full 1/2 gallon, and I'm going to freeze that. And so instead of having to use freeze-dried culture for every batch of yogurt, I will use that as my culture, and then when I run out of the frozen culture, I'll go back to using the freeze-dried. It just makes your freeze-dried culture last a long time. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stir this in with my spoon. You want to just go kind of up and down and all around so you're really, really getting it mixed in. And then I need to grab my jars so I can fill them up, and then I'm going to put them in the dehydrator to incubate overnight. This culture has been stirred in really well. You want all of it incorporated in all of your milk so that it all gets cultured properly. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. This will be my plain jar, and I'm just going to ladle it over into this 1/2 gallon jar, and then I will sweeten the rest of the pot in a minute. I'm going to sweeten the pot, and I'm going to fill up my other jars, and then we'll put them in to incubate. I have my 1/2 gallon here of plain yo. It's going to go in the incubator like that. And then I'm going to put about 1/2 cup per gallon of maple syrup into this. That's just kind of what we're doing. There's no definitive thing. It's if you want plain, just do it plain. If you want sweeter, you can do it sweeter. So I'm going to put 1 and 1/4 cups because I have 2.5 gallons left here. So I'm just gonna pour that in. And some people make their yogurt and then sweeten it per bowl, sweeten it as they go. We just find it easier if we sweeten it in the big batch when we're making it, because then it's ready to eat immediately. And then kids aren't sweetening their own yogurt, because if they're sweetening their own yogurt, it gets way sweeter than it should be. So I'm gonna scrape all out because we all know maple syrup ain't cheap. So we're gonna get every last little drop of that maple syrup out. This measuring cup. And then we're gonna put a little bit of vanilla in. Let's see. There you go. I'm gonna put about 1/2 tablespoon or whatever's left in this little bottle. Let me see. Just about. We make our own vanilla sometimes, but we just ran out, which is really sad. I need to make more. Just one of those things I need to do. So I'm gonna put that in, and then I'm gonna give all of this a good stir again. Get it really well incorporated. Then I'm gonna fill the rest of these jars up. I'm ready to put these in the dehydrator to incubate them. You can do it different ways. I know some people use a cooler and they'll set it somewhere, they'll put boiling water in it and then close the cooler and leave it that way overnight. If it's wintertime, you can put it behind a wood stove. You just want to basically keep the jars somewhere between like 112 to 115 degrees for X number of hours. 12 hours, 14 hours, some people go 24 hours. You just kind of have to play around. You want to go at least 12 hours. We like 14 hours. That's just our preference. I know people who like 24 hours. The longer it goes, the thicker it will get, but the tangier it will get too. So I'm just going to set my timer up here for this for 14 hours. And my specific dehydrator that we use for this, it has preset temperature, so it's 113 degrees. So I'm going to set on that, and then it'll just do its thing all night, and then it will come back in the morning and pull it out and make sure that it hopefully really set well and show you guys the finished product. Our 14 hours are done. This turned off. It's actually been a little longer because we were doing chores, but that's fine. So I'm going to bring it out and see if it's set. And yep, you can see how thick it is. This is the plain one. This is the one we're going to put into what is actually my butter molds for culture for future. And then we have 5 full half-gallon jars of sweetened, ready-to-eat yogurt. I have my plain yogurt out here, and these are my butter molds that I use for making butter or yogurt culture sticks. And I've got a handy dandy 1-ounce ladle. These 1-ounce ladles are perfect for mason jars because you can get them in there. I use them to scoop cream off of my milk and everything. And I'm just going to fill these up because each of these are about a 1/2 cup. So I'm not like measuring exact. It's going to be pretty close. You just want to make sure you have enough culture. So if each of these are full, that is going to be enough. And both the yogurt solid and the whey have good bacteria for culturing. So that's all you got to do. You just got to fill up your butter molds and stick them in the freezer. That was pretty simple. So now you know how to make mozzarella and you know how to make yogurt. And I'm just going to pop these lids on. I'm going to pop these in the freezer overnight, and then I can put them in a Ziploc bag or I can vacuum seal them. Ready to make my next batch of yogurt, I'll just pop 1 stick out per 2 gallons of milk, and that'll be the culture. So when I heat my milk, I'll pop this in, stir it till it dissolves, and we will be good to go and make our yogurt just like we did last time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate y'all. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a video. Give us a thumbs up. Comment below. Let me know what your favorite thing is to make with home dairy, and I'll catch you on the next one.